Here we go. I know what the fucking problems are and I know how to fix them. And it sucks because it's not happening. So, what I care about is my generation of people growing up and raising kids. Because that's what's the most important thing is raising our children, the future generations. That's what's important. What is the role of government? Let's just go back to first principles. What is the role? The role is to incentivize us to work so that we pay taxes that fund our military to keep us safe. That is the overarching role of government. That is first principles. That is the role of government. Incentivize us to work so we pay taxes so we can support the military to defend ourselves. That's okay. So keeping that in mind, we need to incentivize people to work. Okay, so when we put taxes on people producing, that disincentivizes people to work more. That is an income tax. Get rid of income tax. How would we design the perfect tax system? The closest thing to perfect we can get with tax is consumption. You are taxed on what you consume. You're not taxed on what you produce. Because like we said again, first principles is to get people to work. And people do what they're incentivized to do. In New York, they just upped the unemployment rate to $860 an hour or a week. And I have people that I work with that are now saying they'd rather work one day out of the week, file for unemployment, get the $860 plus the 1 day's wages, and then another $215 from the union hall. They'd rather do that, and they're doing it because they're making just as much as they would not working. That is a classic example of our government disincentivizing people to work. Okay, so now we're getting into, I'd like to get into now raising, childbearing, child rearing. Okay, how do we do that? We need a place to do it. We need homes. Okay, the biggest hurdle to home buying right now is property tax. Okay, when banks calculate your debt to income ratio, let's say you find a $400,000 house, but the taxes on it are, I can give you an example. Let's say it's $400,000 house. Let's say your payment is $2,200 a month for the mortgage. I'm just throwing numbers out here. This is realistic numbers. This is what I'm dealing with. The taxes on the $2,200 a month mortgage, $1,400 a month. $1,400 in taxes. That goes to an escrow account that pays county, school, and state taxes. So when banks calculate your debt to income, they're factoring in your ability to pay that tax. So because that's 40% of the house, of the payment is tax, if that was eliminated, people that were unable to buy a house by 40% capital can now buy the house. People that were able to get a smaller house can get a bigger house, raise more kids, have more kids. We need to incentivize this. This is what is important. This is how society functions. This is the base premise of society. Childbearing, child rearing, work, pay taxes, defend our country. Rinse and repeat. If that's all we did, we would be a successful country. Wow, I'm glad I was able to get that out that quickly because this drone only has so much battery, so I need to speak quickly, get my points out there. Good. Yeah, that's what I want to cover. The reason why I do these videos is that I plan on running for political office and I want people to see me and say, hey, what's this guy about? And have a log of all these videos that they can go through and be like, oh, okay, This is what he thinks about this. This is what he thinks about that. My goal is to help the most amount of people as possible. Okay? And I think 99, 98% of us all want the same thing. We want to have families. We want to be able to support our families. And we want to live in a free, safe society. You know? And then getting into freedom, if I have time, see if the drone dies or not. Getting into freedom, there's freedom and security. Okay? I think everyone agrees that there's a line somewhere in there. You know, when it comes to drugs, when it comes to cars, when it comes to, you name it, there's total freedom and total, you know, regulation and security. You know, we can't have total regulation and security because then we don't have any freedom. And if we have total freedom, we don't have the regulation and security. I think everyone agrees that there's a line somewhere in there. And in the later videos, we'll get into where I think the line is, where I thought the line was, and where I think it is now. I think that changes. I think that changes person to person. But I think encapsulating our founders, you know, this is the whole point of the channel. This is our founders' vision of what this country is supposed to look like and what it means to be American. So that's where I want to draw the line, is what my interpretation of that is. So we'll get into that. What a beautiful night out here, man. Beautiful. You know, things that I'm dealing with, I'm going to get through them. But I want to help people, man. That's the whole goal of this, is to help the most amount of people that I can. That's cool. I got a low battery warning. All right. We'll end it there. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. That's me. I'm out. Peace.